What is up, Dexter fans? Welcome to a brand new video, and today I'm going to be reacting to all of your red hot takes as far as all 11 seasons of Dexter. So we're going to be going in order from season 1 all the way to the brand new series Resurrection, and I asked all of you guys to give me your hottest takes, your most unpopular opinions, and we got a ton of them. So I meant for this video to come out a little bit earlier, a little closer to the end of Resurrection, but I had massive technical difficulties a few weeks ago, so this is actually the second time that I'm doing this video. So sit down, buckle up, get ready to be angry at a lot of these opinions. If you guys have something that was not named in this video, feel free to throw those down in the comment section below. But we're starting off with season 1, and our first one here is from Living Ghosts, and it says, I'm only 6 episodes into season 1, but I know a lot of the major plot points. But Dokes and Deb should have become a couple. Would have been an interesting dynamic if he survived past season 2 and even potentially became Dexter's brother-in-law. And 3 people liked it. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I can't go down that journey with you. I have never found any kind of chemistry in that way between Dokes and Deb. Like, I get the whole thing of, like, it would be kind of an interesting dynamic to have Dokes be in a position where he's now, you know, he's obviously suspicious of Dexter, does not like Dexter, but now he has to tolerate Dexter because of his love for his sister. Like, I get where you're going with that side of it, but I don't think there was ever any groundwork laid between those two characters specifically. So yeah, Dokes and Deb, no, they're not shacking up in my world. So I can't go with you in that one. Next up, we've got Michael C. Hall in the show is better than Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad. Oh boy. Oh boy, them's fighting words. Now, look, if as far as my Mount Rushmore goes, Dexter, Michael C. Hall, and Bryan Cranston's Walter White are both two faces that would be on that Mount Rushmore. So at this point, it's like Sophie's choice for me. But yeah, I don't know. Like, Michael C. Hall is brilliant. This would not reflect on his acting ability or his performance at all. I just think Bryan Cranston's Walter White was a better written character by the end of it. I mean, we've had 11 seasons. I mean, 10 if you want to take off Original Sin. 10 seasons of Michael C. Hall's take on Dexter. And there is, I'd say, about a 60-40 split on really well-written stuff for Dexter and really poorly written stuff for Dexter, where Walter White was a character that I think was executed flawlessly from start to finish. So, yeah, I don't know if I can agree with you on that one. Like, if we're just talking about acting ability, I think they're both 10 out of 10. I think they're both masterpiece performances. So we'll just have a draw with that one and prevent any bloodshed. Next up, we got Dexter is a completely unrealistic serial killer and would get caught within a month in real life. I mean, maybe, I guess. That's kind of the whole thing with fiction, though, you know, where we kind of go along for the ride. I think there's a lot of things about the Dexter character that merits some kind of a logic there where it's like, okay, I could see why he would get away with a lot of this. He covers his tracks. He knows what they're going to look for. But he definitely makes a lot of silly mistakes. You know, season 2, he has to pay for a lot of those and cover them up. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, fiction versus real life, but I could understand that, and it could probably agree with you if we talked about it in length. Season 1 is a bad first impression on Dexter. They make him seem like too much of an outsider, like calling flirting a mating ritual and him being even less expressive than the rest of the seasons, not to mention him not really caring about Rita. I think that's a part of the character journey. Like, we're meeting him at a point where he literally feels like he's not human. He thinks he fakes all, or he knows that he fakes all human emotions. He fakes all interactions. Everything about him is a mask. And that's the journey you go on with him, especially in those first 4 seasons, is seeing that mask start to become real, start to see him become a little more human, to have empathy, to have love, to feel desire to preserve life and things like that. So I don't know if, what you're saying is not exactly untrue on its surface, but I just don't think it's a negative the way that you're saying it's a bad first impression. That's just the way that the character is. We're supposed to see this evolution of him. Now, I do think that they have stunted that evolution a lot since season 4. They haven't really followed through with it enough, and we kind of repeat the same exact growth with him over and over again. But that is the intention of the character early on, is watching this literal monster start to become more human. So yeah, I don't know. I agree to an extent. Everything that you're saying is right, but I don't think it's a bad first impression. So I disagree with that part. Biggest hot take. Much like Breaking Bad, I've had and heard so many people rave about it that I refuse to watch any of it. Come on, Hunter. Come on. Like, there's a point where being like the against the grain guy and being the one who's like the hipster that doesn't watch everything that's popular that I can get behind, but you're going to deprive yourself of Breaking Bad and Dexter just because it's popular. It's popular because it's fucking awesome, man. Make some good life choices and watch that shit. The ice truck killer plotline would have worked much better in the later seasons. You know, I've heard a lot of people, I think even CP, my buddy Charles, has said this a couple of times. I've heard people say this before. The ice truck killer plotline would have worked much better in the later seasons. Dexter realizing that the serial killer he's chasing is actually his brother would have hit much harder if it came later in the story. I mean, it's hard for me to say whether it would or not unless I know what the other versions of the pilot season would have been. Like, to me, yes, you do get a very heavy hitter out of the way very quickly. And I do think that there is some potential to have that be a bigger reveal later on in the show. But I do think also that is so ingrained in the origins of Dexter that I can't completely imagine it outside of its first season. Because that whole first season is about us figuring out all these things about Dexter for the first time, like why he's a killer, what happened to his mom and the cargo container, the fact that he has a brother, like all of that stuff we learn, and it's through the interactions and the story of the ice truck killer, this guy who's trying to like get Dexter to remember. He's trying to jog those repressed memories so that he can eventually confront his brother in the state of, you know, the brother he used to know and say, hey, embrace me, I'm just like you. So I don't know. Like, I'm curious enough about it. I've heard the argument enough where I'm curious about it, but I have a hard time fully imagining that story existing outside of the season that we get all the origins with. And our final one for season 1, the story of Dexter seeing his mom dead is a stupid reason for him to become a serial killer. I think it's a pretty fucking valid reason. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's a pretty extreme origin story. It's not just you saw his mom dead. It's not like he walked in and she was hung in a closet or something like that. He was locked in a cargo container with a bunch of cartel members who chainsawed her limbs off and then left him and his brother in this dark container with her limbs, her desecrated corpse, and a bunch of other people. And they're sitting in like 3 inches of blood and gore for days in the Miami heat. Like, that's fucked up. That's fucked up. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, if that doesn't, if you don't hear that story and say, okay, I understand why you became a serial killer, like, at least I can empathize a little bit. If that story doesn't get that out of you, then what would it take? What's an origin that would make sense, that wouldn't be stupid then? I fully reject that one. Moving on to season 2. Doubt this will get seen or mentioned. Well, I mentioned it just to prove you wrong. Doubt this will get seen or mentioned, but I have a few takes on how the OG show could have gone. Dokes dies in season 3 by Prado after being saved by Dexter in season 2 and starting an uneasy alliance. His death would be Dexter's fault as he discouraged Dexter's revealing of the code to Prado. It's an interesting idea. I like that. Dexter follows a sort of Walter White-esque path after the death of Rita, and in the finale atones for his sins through some final heroic act before dying. Yeah, like, I never thought that Dexter needed to follow the same path that Breaking Bad did. Now I feel like it's the best course of action they have left. But, you know, I do think that there is a way, and the groundwork has been laid, to have Dexter have a little bit of a heel turn in this show. You know, it doesn't seem like that's the route they're going to go. But I do think there's a version of Dexter where Dexter ultimately becomes the antagonist by the end of it that was totally merited. I think the best version of that would have been if Deb was not dead. You know, you have basically, you could just have the same thing all the way up to season 7 and just change that little bit at the end there where instead of Deb shooting LaGuerta, she just backs back out of the container and closes the door and lets Dexter do what he's going to do. And he murders LaGuerta in cold blood, chops her up or does whatever he's going to do. Well, I guess he would leave her there and make it look like a gang shooting. But nonetheless, kills LaGuerta, and now he is fully heel turned. He has murdered somebody in cold blood who didn't deserve it just because they got close to him. And then you had the last season where Deb is hunting him down. Like, that was the last straw for her. She thought she could deal with it. And then by the, second or third episode of season 8, she's hunting him and he's the bad guy. I think that could have been a great final season. And for an unrelated villain hot take, Serco is top 2 Dexter villains alongside Trinity and one of the most underutilized characters in the show. I don't know if I'd say top 2, but hell yes, I'm on board with that one. So these actually I can get behind. I like the idea of, I've always said that Dokes, there was a version that would have been cool where after season 2, he kind of understands Dexter a little more. And, he has that dark side. He's killed people. Or that guy he shot who was the war criminal or whatever. Have him and Dexter have this understanding with each other, and Dokes is just kind of trying to keep him on a little bit of a leash, and then Prado comes in, and there's a version of that story that could be cool. So yeah, not too hot of a take for me, and if it is a hot take, I guess I'm right there with you. All right. Dexter keeping trophies is really dumb. He should be smarter than to keep evidence of his kills. This is how Dokes and LaGuerta were eventually able to figure out he was the Bay Harbor Butcher, but in Resurrection, he keeps taking trophies. You would think Dexter would have learned his lesson. Yeah, I mean, on its surface, you're correct, but that's kind of a common thing with a lot of serial killers. Like Ted Bundy took trophies and things like that. So I don't know what it is. There's something about people that are that fucked up where they want something to be able to like relive those moments and try to, I guess, suppress their need to go do it again. And with Dexter, yeah, he kind of went away from it a few times, and then now he's back with it. Now he's got the old trophies again. So yeah, I mean, I like that element of the show, so I really don't care if it's dumb or not. It's a big piece of Dexter, but yeah, you're right. It is silly. If you're that careful about not getting caught, then you're literally taking the one piece of evidence that links you. Let's see here. Lila completely ruined season 2 to the point of making it unwatchable. Woo. She is one of the most annoying side characters in any TV show ever. Okay, well, highly disagree with you on everything that you said. I think Lila's a great character, and I definitely think that she adds to season 2. Season 2 is, sometimes it's my favorite season, but it's my number 2 on days that it's not. I don't find her annoying at all, so I don't know. I mean, I could see the type of person that would not like Lila, especially if you don't really like the seductress angle, if you don't really like her, or if you're really just on the Dexter and Rita train and you don't like her presence at all being something that fucks the mix up. If you've had a significant other leave you for somebody that's like Lila or whatever, like, I get it. She's not a personality that's for everybody. And maybe it's just because I'm a guy and I'm a whore at heart. And so I look at Lila and I'm like, hey, I know you're crazy, but you want to hang out? So yeah, no. Can't agree with you on that one. I don't think it's a super hot take because not a lot of people like, there's a lot of people that don't like Lila, but I'm not one of them. The show should have ended after the second season. Damn. Even season 3 and 4, you're not a fan of, huh? That's wild. No. There's so much left on the table after season 2 that I think that would be ridiculous. Now, there's a version of what you're saying where it's like the storyline of season 2 should have been the end that I can totally get behind. That's always kind of been the one stain on season 2 is like you kind of blew your load in season 2. But nonetheless, no, I think there was still so much to do after season 2, evidenced by, I'm more forgiving than most. I think there's a lot of great stuff after season 2, not just season 3 and 4, but even after that. So no, can't follow you on that one. Now moving on to season 3. The whole season 1 to season 4 are the best, and it never gets as good as that thing is way too over-exaggerated. I actually can agree with that. I went into the show with that mindset and came out thinking season 5 and season 7 were both better than season 3. Season 3 as a whole was obviously good, but it was easily the weakest of the first 4 and had some stale moments in the middle, like around episode 6 and 7. If this is probably a hot take, but it's one that I share with you. I do think that season 1 through season 4 is the strongest run of the show as far as just consistency. But I think there's a lot of great stuff after season 4. And here recently, when I ranked this for the most recent time, I did put season 5 over season 3. And at one point, I think I had season 7 over season 3, but I kind of softened on that a little bit. But I'm with you. Season 5 and season 7, I think, are great. I do think that season 3 is right there with them. Like, to me, there's tiers. Like, you have top tier Dexter, which to me is like season 4, 1 and 2. You have really good Dexter, which is season 3, 5, 7, Resurrection. You have okay Dexter, which is Original Sin, season 6. Am I missing one? Probably not. And then the bad Dexter, which is season 8, New Blood. So yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of good stuff after season 4. Like to me, when you run into people that say Dexter sucked after season 4, it's like running into people that say that Metallica sucked after the Black Album, and it's like, no, they just didn't make the Black, or they didn't make Master Puppets 18 times. Nonetheless, that's another hot take video for another day. But yeah, I think I'm with you on that one. Miguel is my second favorite character of the whole show, right after Dexter. Okay. I don't think it's a hot take to like Miguel, but it's a hot take to have him as number 2. He's definitely one of my favorite villains. So he would be like somewhere in the top 10 or so, probably. But yeah, Miguel Prado's a great character. Jimmy Smits is amazing in that season. Dokes should have survived, taking Miguel Prado's role in season 3. Now this one's interesting. Swapping out Miguel for Dokes. And Dexter's ending shouldn't be death or prison. He's an anomaly, and his fate should reflect that. That's a totally different one. So we'll take one after the other. So Dokes surviving and taking Miguel Prado's role where Dexter's teaching him the code and then Dokes takes it too far. That's actually a badass idea that I like. I like that a lot. Now, I don't necessarily like sacrificing Miguel Prado for that, but at the same time, there is a through line there that if Dokes didn't die in season 2, that would feel like a very natural direction for a season 3. Dexter's ending shouldn't be death or prison. He's an anomaly. His fate should reflect that. Like it never felt like they knew what to do with the character, because they just burned through a lot of their best ideas, and like no matter what they do, somebody's going to be upset. Like there's some of us that think that Dexter should die. There's some of us that think that him dying is the worst thing you could do. There's some of us that think Dexter should atone for his crimes by going to prison, and there's some that would be pissed off about that. There's some that want him to walk off into the sunset, and there's those of us that think that would be extremely unsatisfying storytelling. So it's a very tricky character where I really don't think, especially now after they've attempted it twice and failed miserably, I don't think there's an ending to this show that's really going to satisfy the masses. To me, it's just going to be like a choose your adventure thing. It's like, do you want him to die? Well, watch New Blood. Do you want him to go off into the sunset? Then, maybe watch whatever the ending's probably going to be here in a couple of seasons. Do you want to watch him be a fucking lumberjack? Go watch season 8. So yeah, I do think that him going to prison, him finally being taken down as the Bay Harbor Butcher to preserve the life of somebody else, at this point probably Harrison, I think that's the most natural end for the character. And it leaves him alive in case they want to do another one in 10 years. You have fucking senior citizen Dexter or whatever. And Michael C. Hall's youthful as hell. He can do it in his 60s and probably still look awesome. So yeah, Miguel Prado is the show's best villain because rather than being just another serial killer, he shows the darkness in the average person and how easy it is to cross the line. Plus that rant on the rooftop is the stuff of legend. Okay, so the hot take here would be saying he's the show's best villain. I would not agree with that. I think that I agree at heart with what you're saying, that it shows that there's just darkness in average people, and all it takes is that little push, like the Joker said, just a little push. But the thing that I've never really liked about season 3 and the Miguel Prado character is the choice to have it be revealed that he was always manipulating Dexter. And he was always lying, and he was always fabricating. I think the character would have been much more compelling. You have that exact same season, the exact same way that it goes, but by the end, it quite literally is this guy that genuinely had an interest in Dexter, wanted to befriend him, wanted to crack that armor, wanted to kind of get that personality out of him that nobody seemingly could. And then it just happened to be that he's also a fucking serial killer that is able to tap into that darkness in Miguel, and Miguel goes off the rails. But have it be where he did genuinely want to be Dexter's friend, he just took it too far. And now he's got to pay the price for it. Versus at the end of it where it's just like, oh, from the very beginning, he kind of knew there was something about Dexter. And so he manipulated him from the start to get him to teach him how to kill people. Like, to me, that was always a little bit too far and kind of stain the character a little too much. Like, you could still be a villain and still have some kind of a human element to you and not just be this complete fuckbag. So much as I love Miguel, that's the one thing I've never liked about him. That would definitely keep me from saying he's the best villain. But that rant on the rooftop, the stuff of legends, that's in my top 3 scenes in the entire show, probably. I love it. I'll watch clips of just that rooftop confrontation sometimes. Last one for season 3. Season 3 was a weak and forgettable season. that I think is only remembered fondly for being squished in between season 2 and 4. Season 5, despite some missteps, is just as good as the first 4 seasons and better than season 3. There's a part of what you're saying that I can get behind. I do think that season 5 is not anywhere near the drop-off that people make it out to be. I think it fits very nicely with the first 4 seasons. I just don't like how cleanly it ends. And the fact that it doesn't really feel like Rita's death impacts them near as much as we thought it would the whole time we were waiting after season 4. But saying that season 3 was weak and forgettable, I don't agree with that at all. I think there's a lot of great stuff in season 3. Season 3 has its problems. Season 3 has a pacing issue. Season 3 definitely lingers around and meanders a little bit in the middle. Like I said, the thing with Miguel I never really cared for. The Skinner kid, like there's flaws with season 3 that definitely makes it definitively the weakest of the first 4 seasons. But I would not say it is a weak and forgettable season. It just has its issues. Moving on to season 4. This is one that I was very curious what the hot takes were going to be, because this is the popular opinion for best season. Trinity is vastly overrated as both a villain and a character. Here we go. Trinity would have been a 1-episode kill if it wasn't for Dexter wanting to learn from him. Yes, he is an interesting and extremely well-acted character, but he was never a proper foil to Dexter like the Ice Truck Killer, Jordan Chase, Miguel, and the Brain Surgeon were. The Brain Surgeon? Come on. Come on. You had a little bit of validity there until that last fucking word. Okay. Let's take this one by one. Overrated as a villain and character. Like, okay. I think he's an amazing villain and character, but he is like talked about as the GOAT so often that I could see somebody maybe saying overrated because there's something about Another Kill they like a little bit more. Fine. Trinity would have been a 1-episode kill if it wasn't for Dexter wanting to learn from him. Well, yes, but you can say that for a number of people in this show. But specifically with Trinity, that's the whole theme of that season. Is, you know, Dexter could have taken out Trinity after seeing the bludgeoning kill when he knew that that was him. Like, he could have just fucking handled business right there. But he saw that he had a family, and that's what he was currently struggling with, is how do I balance my nightlife as a serial killer with a full-time job and especially a husband and a father life? And so he so desperately needs to learn what the secret sauce is that he leaves Trinity to live and even saves him at one point because he feels like Trinity is the piece that's going to help him become the perfect version of himself. And the whole theme and story of that season, with the ultimate conclusion or the ultimate consequence, is that Dexter can't have it all. And Trinity was a lie. He saw through. It was a mask just like his, but even more grotesque. And his family was miserable. Like, he was able to preserve his serial killer life, and he destroyed the lives of everybody that he loves. And that's kind of the lesson there, is like, if Dexter keeps this serial killer nightlife, he's going to destroy the lives of the people that he loves. And that's absolutely what happens to every single one of them throughout the series. So I think it's a very perfect telling of that type of story. And Trinity is, yeah, somebody he could have killed very easily if he wanted to, but that's not really the point of the season. Yes, he's an interesting, extremely well character. He was never a proper foil. I think he was a perfect foil. Like, he's a guy trying to do what Dexter's doing, but he is fully embracing the monster and abandoning everything else about his life, where Dexter very much wants to do the opposite. Next, we have, if Rita had found out about Dexter's secret, she would have accepted him with some time like Deb did. She was his true love. I don't think so. I don't think so. You look back at how rough she was in season 2 and just thinking that he was a drug user, and how volatile she got with him, somewhat for understandable reasons. But nonetheless, she wanted nothing to do with him back when she just thought he was shooting up. And you're saying if she finds out that he's murdering people and, you know, setting their family in the target of serial killers every couple of weeks, like, you think that she would have accepted that? I don't agree with that at all. Saying that's his true love, maybe. You know, there's arguments for that. I think there's elements to a number of his love interests that counterbalance each other. But I don't think she would have accepted him whatsoever. I don't think that was ever a part of her character. They should have kept Arthur Miller alive and brought him back for another season down. Arthur Mitchell alive and brought him back for another season down the line. Would have been a great final season for Dexter to get revenge on him for killing Rita. Yeah, but then season 4 would have been too much. Like, the ending would have been too much for fans to be entertained by. Like, that's the whole trick of that final episode, is you finally get that satisfaction of Dexter finally got that son of a bitch. Like, you feel victorious along with him, just to have the rug pulled out from underneath you 5 minutes later. If Arthur Mitchell got away, and Dexter's like, fuck, like the one that got away, I pissed away my opportunity to kill him so many times, and now he's just gonna walk and drive off into the sunset with that fucking car. And then you have the 1-2 punch of, oh, he also killed Rita on the way out of town. I think that would have been too much. Would have been too dark. So yeah, aside from just the selfishness of wanting John Lithgow to come back again and have more Trinity versus Dexter, which I understand, I don't agree with that. I think that they ended it perfectly. Rita was actually really irritating, and I thought Dexter was more interesting without her. Not saying seasons 1 through 4 weren't the best, but there was something nice about seeing what Dexter could do while not having the encumbrance of a wife and stepkids. Interesting. I do think that there is elements of Rita that were irritating for me too. Some of that's just being a guy and being a husband, and that naggy wife shit just annoys us to no end, even if it's justified. Like season 2, I mean, he's created this balloon of lies, and that's why she reacts the way that she does. So you can't fully blame her. The way that I don't think you can fully blame Skylar for being the way that she is in Breaking Bad when Walter's doing what Walter's doing. But you have moments like in season 2 where, you know, Paul calls and says, oh, I think, you know, Dexter set me up. There's something with Dexter. And then he dies in prison, and her reaction is to get pissed off at Dexter. And it's like the guy that beat you and I think even sexually assaulted you, or at least tried to a number of times, and the multitude of things that Paul did, that he was just a monster, and she fucking despised every bone in his body. And now all of a sudden he cries a little bit and she's like, Dexter, what'd you do? Like that, I always hated that fucking moment. And you have other moments like that in season 2. You got season 3, that whole thing where she's really bitchy because he hasn't proposed. And I guess maybe she's hormonal because she's pregnant too, but like he buys her a bread maker and she's like, fuck, what are you going to do? Buy me a goddamn sewing machine or whatever she said. Like there's moments where it's like, oh, God, could you be more insufferable? But saying that Dexter was more interesting without her, I think there was potential for Dexter to get even more interesting without her. I think that's one element of everything after 4 that they fumbled quite a bit. I think Rita's death should have mattered a lot more than it seemed to, especially in season 5, if nothing else. So I get what you're saying, not having the encumbrance of a wife and stepkids. I think that's what made season 1 through 4 so interesting, honestly. In season 4 especially, is Dexter a serial killer trying to balance all of that. When you just gave him get out of jail free cards for the rest of the series, where it's just like, hey, Jamie, can you like stay here 24/7 and watch this kid? Hey, Astor and Cody, fuck off to Orlando. Like, to me, that was where the show's writing started to feel a little bit, sometimes a lot of bit. John Lithgow as the Trinity Killer is the most overrated villain performance. Okay. I wish we had some context. I wish you had some extra details on why. Because that just kind of feels like I'm going to go against the popular opinion because I don't know, man. Like Trinity Killer is just such an amazing villain that I don't understand saying that he's overrated, because if you like the ice truck killer or somebody more, that's fine. But I don't understand being a Dexter fan watching season 4 and going like, this Trinity Killer thing, not really working for me. Final one for season 4. Season 4 is overrated. Quinn is a bad character. The new status quo doesn't work when Trinity isn't around, and knowing how badly things go in subsequent seasons highlights how little was actually accomplished. No, like, okay, Quinn is a bad character. I think he's a decent character. There's some seasons where he's a good character. There's some seasons where they obviously have no idea what the fuck to do with him. So I'm not too offended by you saying that one, but Quinn came into season 3. Season 4, if you're just saying his storyline in season 4 sucked, fair enough, I guess, but I actually like his relationship with Christine Hill. The new status quo doesn't work after season 4. To me, even if you believe that, even if you think everything after season 4 suffered because of what season 4 did, to me, that doesn't make season 4 bad. That makes everything after season 4 a disappointment that they didn't know what to do with that. That, to me, is like the people that say that Dream Warriors ruined the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's like, well, Dream Warriors is awesome, but everything after that got silly because they brought comedy into part 3. Well, that's the fault of everything after part 3. That's not the fault of Dream Warriors. So yeah, I can't agree with you on that one. Sorry. Season 4 is the shit, so I don't think it's overrated at all. If it's not your favorite, that's fine, but it's still an amazing season. Moving on to season 5. Stan Liddy is one of the best villains in Dexter, and Lila is the worst villain. Okay. Back to the Lila slander. But no, Stan Liddy, I wouldn't say he's one of the best, but I do like him as like a side villain, a side antagonist. I really like Peter Weller's performance. I think he's this nasty, ruthless little bastard. So I do like Stan Liddy quite a bit. So if that's a hot take, I'm right there with you. Lumen from season 5 was Dexter's best love interest. That's one I don't hear often. Usually it's either Rita, some people like Hannah, maybe a few people say Lumen, but yeah, people tend to be down on Lumen, but I like Lumen a lot. Season 5 is not only the most underrated, but the best and most entertaining season. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I do agree that it's underrated. I would not say that it's the best and most entertaining season, not by a long shot. So that is a very hot take. I've not often heard people say that season 5 buries everything else, but I like the boldness. For how many times Dexter hated others for the way that they hurt kids, he sure had no problem abandoning Astor, Cody, and young Harrison. Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a guy who, murders kids and buries them and shit like that, or puts kids in concrete. There's a difference between that and abandoning kids. But yes, there's a degree of what you're saying that I totally get. For as much as Dexter seems to have this soft spot for kids, he really doesn't have any issue with just kind of like leaving his kids to their own devices. Like, oh, I kind of fucked everything up. Hannah, other serial killer who tried to poison my sister. Just take Harrison. Go do what you're going to do. I'm going to go be a lumberjack. So yeah, for sure. Not one of the better written elements of Dexter is how they've dealt with his kids. Lumen is Dexter's best love interest. While I like Rita, I love that they did something different with Lumen, where she sees Dexter's dark passenger and not only accepts it, but also helps him with his kills. I overall thought Lumen was a great contrast from Rita, who had no clue who the real Dexter was, and I wish she had stayed on the show longer. Okay. I don't know if Lumen was a character that had the longevity to be past season 5, but I really did not like how they tied it up. I didn't like how she just woke up and just didn't have a dark passenger anymore and didn't want any interest in Dexter. Like, that whole season finale of season 5 really felt like it wrapped up way too neatly for a multitude of reasons. So I think she had the potential to maybe come back later on. I don't know if just like season 6, it's Dexter and Lumen. I don't know if that would have worked. So yeah, I do think she's a great contrast from Rita, though. I agree with you. Everything after season 4 is a huge step down. The show is better off if you just watch seasons 1 through 4. Nope. I can't get onto that. Sorry. Like, we talked about that earlier. Like, yes, season 1 through 4 is the golden era. Most of us agree with that. I think there's so much great stuff after that and some shit you have to trek through that it's worth watching the rest of the show, especially with how good Resurrection was and how good I hope the rest of the show is, however many seasons we get. That's the encouraging part. It's like, I have friends that I've hesitated to really push hard to watch Dexter because it's like, well, you're going to get all this just to get to season 8 and New Blood. So is it worth it? I don't know. Now that we have Resurrection, I'm a little more confident telling people like, yeah, you're going to hit a low point, but you start to dig yourself out of it. So now's the time to go and watch it finally. All right. Next we have hot take. Lumen was Dexter's best love interest. See, a lot of people are on the Lumen train. There's a lot of closeted Lumen fans out there. You guys need to be a little louder. Lumen was best love interest in the show, and she made more sense as a partner to Dexter than Rita, Lila, or Hannah. I can agree with that. I think she does make more sense as somebody that has their own trauma, that has their own dark passenger. Hannah, I like, but she's literally just kind of like a serial killer. But somebody who has the drive to kill for similar reasons as Dexter, maybe not quite as intensely. I think that was a perfect matchup. That's one of the reasons why I like her character a lot. Season 5 antagonists were far more interesting than the rest of the villains. Beats Ice Truck Killer, Prado, etc. I like season 5 a lot. Hell no. Hell no. I like the concept of the Barrel Girls killers, where it's kind of like a collection of Freak of the Week killers that are all like one little hive. But I don't think they come close to either of the two that you mentioned, especially, but even just the ones that you didn't, where you're saying they're far more interesting than the rest of the villains. Like, they damn sure aren't more interesting than Isaac Serco. They're damn sure not more interesting than the Trinity Killer. Yeah, no. Can't go with you on that one, Tube Man. Season 5 of Dexter is the most underrated season in the series. Agreed. I'll always tell people season 1 through 5 are peak in the original run rather than the usual season 1 through 4 that people say. You know what? If that's a hot take, I'm right there with you, Terry. Season 6 is the first season where I felt like a giant slump. So, yeah, I'm with you. Season 5 is in contention for being the best season of Dexter next to season 4. I think Jordan Chase is a more compelling villain than Trinity. Oh, wow. Here we go again. Though the Trinity is still great, I just think the concept of a manipulative motivational speaker is such a great concept. I agree. His acting is great, tense, and the way he contrasts with Dexter is so good, especially the scene where Dexter gets called up on stage. Lumen is one of the top 5 best written non-villain characters in the show. Her contrast with Dexter is really unique, and I wish they would bring her back. We're half and half on this one. Season 5 in contention for best season next to season 4. No, not for me. I think Jordan Chase is more compelling than Trinity. Not even close. Not even close for me. I just think the concept of a speakers, yeah, I agree with everything after that. Everything after that I think is something I can get behind. But no, the first half was a bit rough. Episode 5-1 is the best episode of the show. Best? No, I would not say that. In the conversation of maybe top 20, top 15, yeah. I love the random kill in that episode. It's one of my favorite kills where he takes out that douchebag in the bathroom. I like the tension of him trying to figure out whether he wants to haul ass or stay. Telling the kids about their mother is certainly an emotional scene. So it's a very good episode. I don't think it's the best. I think there's far too many amazing episodes of Dexter for me to put that one as the best one. Season 5 is on par with the first 4 seasons of the original series. Got a number of people doing that, and I agree. The end of season 5 would have been the perfect time for Deb to catch Dexter in the act. And oh, thank you for saying it so I didn't have to for the millionth time. The end of season 5 would have been the perfect time for Deb to catch Dexter in the act instead of stretching it out another season and making it feel fake and unearned and repetitive. It kind of starts to stretch the viewer's belief that she has now come across him twice. It would have been the only way to top season 4's ending. I also feel that as much as I love season 2, they totally wrote themselves into a corner by covering that story arc so early on. I don't know how much of that is a hot take, but it's some shit that I agree with my whole fucking heart. Specifically just talking about the ending of season 5. Like I already said, I don't really like the way that season ends kind of in a nice little neat, tidy bow. And one of the reasons is with all the work they did to establish Deb's sympathy for the Barrel Girl, vigilante, the one that's taken out of the Jordan Chase crew. And the fact that she figures out that there's 2 of them and one of them is probably helping the girl. Like the fact that she goes on this journey and ends up at a point where she has to uphold the law, but she agrees with them because she's watched those horrific tapes and she knows what these people did. And she thinks in her head, to an extent, they kind of deserve what they're getting. That was the perfect moment for her to discover that it was Dexter, because it gives her a point where she's already right there on the line of understanding Dexter's ideology of it's justified. She's already there where she sympathizes with the person who is doing this, and especially the person who is helping them. To pull that plastic down and have it be Dexter and Lumen, that would have been the most like boiling conflict of emotions between those 3 characters that you could have had. And it quite literally, as you said, would have been the only way to have a season finale that matches or surpasses the insanity of the cliffhanger of season 4. Why they decided not to do that, I will never fucking understand. And I think that's honestly what I would call the genuine biggest misstep of the show that kind of set the rest of it up for failure, is that moment right there. Because you have season 6, which I've softened on a little bit, but I wholeheartedly agree with everybody that says that is one of the worst seasons. To just punt that to the next season and not have that reveal be anywhere near as effective as it would have been, absolute shame. So yes, whether that's a hot take or not, I don't know, but yes, right there, I'm on your team. Season 6, Deb and Dexter should have ended up together romantically. Oh, fucking hell with this. Or at least had a few seasons trying to make it as a couple before tragedy strikes. No. No, 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 no. This is one of the writers of Dexter. You ain't fucking fooling me. Whoever wrote season 6, this is you, Liam Harrison. No. That is my least favorite storyline that they ever attempted in this show. You are never going to get me to understand the desire to make Deb and Dexter a romantic couple. Like, they're not blood relatives. I don't give a fuck. They're brother and sister. It's weird. It's gross. No, absolutely not. Of all the hot takes so far, that's the one where I'm just like, nope, throw it in the fucking fire. Season 6 would be just as good as the first 5 if it didn't have that weird sibling shit. No. I mean, that's definitely one of the elements of season 6 that drags it down, but there's a lot of other issues with season 6. So you take that out, it's still the weakest season up to that point. I've been dying to talk this hot take with someone, anyone. Travis Marshall is a top-tier Dexter villain. No, the fuck he ain't. For me, number 4, behind Trinity, Brian, and Isaac, just above Jordan Chase and the Barrel Girl murderers. No. I like Colin Hanks. I like Edward James Olmos. I like the religious angle to their kills and the carnage candy that comes along with it. And there's like a little bit of a saw trap angle to it. And I like all of that. The storyline of Travis Marshall and him, he's not intimidating whatsoever. The twist, you see it coming from like episode 2. No. Travis Marshall, for me, is easily one of the weakest villains. So I'm glad you like it, but nope. I am not on your side. I actually think that Travis Marshall's twist reveal in the 3rd quarter of the season was pretty decent and made him one of the more unnerving and sadistic villains of the show. Not defending the season as a whole, it definitely bottom tier Dexter, but Travis is one of the standouts. I just can't agree. I wish I could. I wish I could get there with you. I think that twist reveal was ridiculous. I mean, most of the season, it was like annoying how long they were taking to reveal that. It's like, I see what the fuck you're doing. Quit playing around. Just get it over with. Rip the fucking Band-Aid off. And yeah, no. And I never found him unnerving. I always thought, he's like a Poindexter villain. Hey, Poindexter villain. I coined that and didn't even realize it. Season 6 is a top 4 season. Think you're all thinking what I'm thinking. Season 6 with the Doomsday Killer is so underrated. The twist is bad and predictable, but the kills are great, especially the Angel, which looks just brilliant. Maybe the best in the franchise. I mean, there's somewhat what you're saying that I can get behind. I do think the kills are pretty damn good. I like the Angel kill especially. Like, that's the angle of the Trinity or the Doomsday Killer that I really like. Everything else fails, though. So I think that, it still equals out to be a very lackluster villain that merits a lot of the negative reception. I didn't realize this was a hot take until the past week, but season 6 is my favorite season to come after season 4, the original run of the show. And the twist to me was one of the best moments I had watching Dexter. Plus, Travis is great as you're not intimidated by him, but he just creeps you out with how religious he is and how truly believes in what he is doing by the end. Just never came through for me. Like, having a religious villain can be very creepy. I just never found Colin Hanks to be creepy. And if the twist genuinely surprised me, that would have been something that maybe could have saved season 6 a bit, but obviously, as I've said a bunch of times at this point, it wasn't that way for me. So yeah, moving on to season 7. Season 7 was one of the best seasons. It's up there with season 4, 2, and 1. I wouldn't put it quite that high, but I do think it's a great season. It is one of my favorite seasons for sure. Isaac in season 7 had so much potential to be a consensus top 3 villain in the show. If he was treated more like a standard villain, he was intimidating, charismatic, empathetic, and physically imposing figure. What set him back, I think, from being up there with Moser and Trinity and more in line with everyone else was how the season he was in treated him. He ended up befriending Dexter mid-season and then died shortly after. The rest of the season was all about LaGuerta pinning the BHB on Dexter and strayed away from Isaac. If Isaac had a season-long arc of being the big bad, I think he easily could have been a top 3 villain. To me, he's still a top 3 villain. Maybe top 4 villain, I don't know. But he's up there. I mostly agree with what you're saying. Like, season 7, There's a part of me that actually likes the fact that it's kind of a little scattered, where you have a section of the story that's based on Isaac, and then LaGuerta ends up becoming kind of the big bad at the back part of the season. And at the same time, there's a part of me that does think that having a season-long arc and a season-long villain always makes for the stronger seasons. So I've always been a little complicated on that. I like the fact that Isaac kind of befriends Dexter and dies in a way that makes you feel like sad that he's gone, even though the first half of the season you were like, oh, fuck, Dexter, you better take this dude out. I love Isaac. I think he's a badass villain. I think that Ray Stevenson is a hell of a performance. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Season 7 is the best season because it shifts the status quo on its head and has the best season finale. I do love the fact that it shifts the status quo as far as Dexter and Deb and having their whole like sponsor, like almost like an Alcoholics Anonymous type relationship. I love that whole angle. I think they do a great job with it. The fact that the first episode ends with her discovering everything was really unexpected for me at the time. He opens the door and she just tore his fucking apartment apart and found the hand and found the weapons and found the blood slides. That was a great moment. The best season finale, no. It's a good season finale. It is. I've never really liked the fact that Deb shoots LaGuerta. Never really found that to be earned. And I don't like what they do with it afterwards, which certainly colors my response to it, but it's a good season finale. I really enjoyed the Dexter versus Lewis plot, even though everyone seems to hate it, and I was very much invested in it when they all of a sudden killed him off. Also, I like the Geller twist, even though it was obvious. That just doesn't bother me at all, and I enjoyed Travis and Geller's scenes. All in all, I think I'm just a lot higher on season 6 than most. I like the Dexter versus Lewis plot whenever it had a lot of potential, but they kind of killed off all that potential literally by just shooting him in the head in episode 2. Like, I thought it was really intriguing. Like, who the fuck is this guy? Why does he have the hand? What is he doing sending it to Dexter and marking these little things on? Like, what is this? Like, where is this going to go? And then he ends up being just like a nerdy video game developer that's a petty bitch and then gets shot for being a petty bitch. And so it's, yeah, absolute waste, in my opinion. And then the Geller twist, I've talked about ad nauseum at this point. Not a fan. Matthews knew Dexter was the Bay Harbor Butcher. That's a popular fan theory that I just don't think holds any water. Like, if it was eventually revealed to be that could have been cool. That could have been interesting. A guy that was friends with Harry that's kind of like unknowingly looked after Dexter and kept him out of a little hot water from behind the scenes, even though he didn't do a very good job of that season 2. That could have been interesting, but they never went there. So to me, it's just a fan theory and not one that has much evidence. It's just something that people kind of want to happen. So not really a hot take, just a theory. I loved Hannah McKay. She was one of the best characters in the series and mad hot. I think we all agree with that last part. People really don't like Hannah McKay, and it surprises me. Like, I don't think she's that interesting in season 8. I think that's the season's fault, not the character's fault, but I like Hannah McKay as a character. I think that she brings an interesting dynamic. I like her chemistry with Dexter. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm not on the Hannah hate train. Moving on to season 8. Now, I expected most of the hot takes to be about this one, and I was correct. Deborah switching up about killing Dexter in season 8 is written well, in my opinion. Vogel is a master manipulator at her core, and seeing as Deb is also known that there is good in Dexter, even though she was shrouded with the fact that she killed LaGuerta, I think was well resolved, and I enjoyed that switch up. But for giving Hannah McKay, thumbs down. Yeah, no. Like, the thought of Dexter switching up about killing Dexter in theory is something that you could earn, but they don't earn it. They just do it. It's just... That season 8 does it all the fucking time, where they establish something and then they just reverse it and get rid of it. Never mind. Move on to something else. And that's one of them. Like, she fucking hates him, and it's to the point where she's like, I'm going to die with you, bitch. I'm going to take you down, whether it takes me with you or not. And then the next episode, she's like, we're cool. Harrison's age shifting every single season is the worst part of the entire show. Aging up from like 2 to 5 and 6 months, and then somehow being 16 to 17, 9 years after that. The actor's too old for those ages too, so maybe they should just age him up again. I mean, I wouldn't say it's the worst part of the show, but it's definitely something that was always bizarre, that they never explained. They never even bothered to have any kind of a sensical explanation for. Yeah, like you, between season 7 and season 8, you literally go from like a 2-year-old to like a 6-year-old, and you're like, what the fuck? Even him aging as a baby, like, I don't know, he was an infant. We'll say he's 3-4 months old in season 4, and then a year later in season 6, he's taking him to try to get him into preschool, and you don't do that until like they're 4 years old. Yeah, they do that quite a bit with Harrison. And then the one, like, I don't know, between season 8 and New Blood, so we'll say he's 5 in New Blood, or in season 8. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yes. Yes. When you start mathing it, you're like, I don't think it's a hot take. I think everybody would agree with that, though. My hottest take is even the worst seasons aren't that bad and still pretty enjoyable for me. Okay. That probably is a hot take because you got a lot of people that really hold true to that only season 1 through 4 is great thing. But I'm with you. Even the worst seasons aren't that bad. I don't agree with that part of it. Season 8, New Blood, I think are that bad. And season 6, I think earns a lot of the hate, even though I enjoy it more than some. But there's only 2 out of the 11 seasons that we've had so far that I just genuinely dislike. I actually like the ending of season 8 as an ending to the show. I felt like they were always building up to Dexter, realizing he was the problem and needed to go into exile to save his loved ones, and they even foreshadowed it when Dexter had Trinity on his table at the end of season 4. I mean, Dexter realizing that he's the problem, fine. Dexter going into exile to save his loved ones, fine. I've always said the idea at heart with the end of season 8 is not a bad one. It's the execution. Like, the whole season sucks, which is a problem. But the execution of that idea is like the worst possible version. Oh, Deb gets shot because I decided finally I don't need to kill the big bad. So I grow as a character and then I pay the ultimate price for it immediately. Deb's going to be okay. Never mind. She's got a blood clot. She's brain dead. Yeah, I'm going to go to Argentina. Never mind. Just take my kid and figure it the fuck out. I don't know. I'm going to drive into a hurricane to die with my sister in this poetic way. Oh, never mind. I'm going to go be a lumberjack in fucking Seattle. Like, no, it's horrible. The idea is fine. The idea could have been great if it was done the right way. But the way they executed it was dog shit. Brain Surgeon is the best villain because he basically kills off Deb, the worst character. I have a sneaking suspicion that was maybe just a troll comment. But if you believe that, you need Jesus. You need some Jesus in your life. First 8 seasons only. I haven't seen anything else, but it's wild that over the entire runtime, his character, while quirky, was never tested morally, leaving him to be a bland anti-hero. They had a chance with Dokes, but Dexter never had to face killing someone outside of his code. Still loved the show, but always hated how he never truly evolved. I agree with that. I wouldn't go as far as to say he's a bland anti-hero. That's a lot more negative than I would go with it, but I do agree with the idea at heart of the show has always shielded him from that. Whether it's Dokes, LaGuerta, and now Batista, whenever he has a character that is correct and is good and is pursuing him for moral, just reasons, and he has to choose between preserving his own life and the life of an innocent, the show never makes him honestly make that choice. Even the whole thing with, like, Logan, the Coach Logan that he kills at the end of New Blood, like, they shoot it in a way where it's like accidental. Like, he doesn't say, like, all right, fuck it, and just breaks his neck. He's like, oh, like, he tries to dodge the bullet and accidentally kills him. And it's like, okay, even in that moment, you're trying to, like, cop out. So I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that that's the one thing that the show has done consistently that's really fucking annoying at this point. That's just deprived his character of something genuinely challenging. Is the universe or somebody else always takes that away from him and just does it for him and kind of bails him out. Season 8 ain't that bad. The Brain Surgeon is a good villain, just needed more screen time. And season 8 finale made sense. It was tragic, unpredictable, poetic, and a perfect punishment for Dexter. No. Season 8 ain't that bad. Season 8 is that bad. The Brain Surgeon is a good villain. Brain Surgeon is not a good villain. If he needed more screen time to be a good villain, then they should have given him more screen time. But the whatever the reason that he's not a good villain, yeah, he's just not a good villain. And season 8 finale made sense. As I already said, the idea, yes, but the way that they executed it, no. Tragic, unpredictable, poetic, perfect punishment. I mean, tragic, yeah. Unpredictable in the worst way, yeah. Poetic. Him putting Deb in the water as his final victim, yeah. Perfect punishment? No. Like Walt in Breaking Bad, there should have been a point in the show where the audience turns on Dexter. He should have been the one to kill Maria at the end of season 7, and Deb merely witnesses it. Season 8 starts with Dexter now not being able to effectively control his urges, and he becomes the big bad of the final season, and Deb is going to take him down if it's the last thing that she does. I think that there's a lot more work you need to do to have Dexter fully go that dark to where he's just suddenly uncontrollable, but the heart of the idea, yeah, I was even talking about that earlier, where season 8 should have been Deb versus Dex, and LaGuerta should have been the catalyst for that. So for the most part, we agree. Dexter just going full villain mode after that, though, I think they needed to massage that a little longer, maybe from season 6 onward. Or even, I guess, season 5 onward after Rita. But yes, for the most part, we had the right thing in mind. The same thing in mind. The Brain Surgeon is an overhated villain and was one of the better parts of season 8. If he wasn't the final villain who killed Deb, he would be less hated. He was genuinely scarier than Trinity, Lila, Miguel, Travis, Kurt, etc. Ugh. There is a version of the conversation of the Brain Surgeon as an overhated villain and was one of the better parts of season 8 that I could get behind. Because I think there's pieces of the Brain Surgeon where they had potential there. And season 8 is just so shitty all around that it wouldn't take a lot for you to give me examples of why Brain Surgeon is one of the better elements of season 8, even if he's not a great element. But I think it's beyond just the fact that he was the final villain and killed Deb. Like, yes, that does raise your stakes and your expectations as like, what villain are you going to go out on? And it's like their weakest one. The fact that he kills Deb, some people are going to hold that against him for sure. But I mean, Trinity killed Rita. Nobody hates Trinity in a way that's not like a celebration of the character. So I can't quite get on board with that argument that he would be less hated. And he's definitely not scarier than a lot of the ones that you mentioned. He's not scarier than Trinity to me. I would even say that Travis at heart is a little bit more intimidating just because of the psycho angle of it. Yeah, I don't know. Nah. We're going to wrap up season 8 hot takes with one that definitely is a hot take. Moving on to New Blood. I wish in later seasons and to now Dexter was portrayed and seen more as an antagonist figure than an anti-hero. I understand and like the anti-hero approach in the show for the first 5 seasons, but having Deb find out who he was should have put a shift in tone and have us seen Dexter more from Deb's view in season 7 and on. Maybe not a full-blown villain, but having Dexter's character go through a storyline or an arc where he can't control his urges or doesn't want to use the code and just kills for the hell of it would be a nice change. I agree. I mean, that's not the way the show has to go, but there's a version of the later seasons in the show where I think that could have been compelling. I do think that going the Walter White angle of having a character that you like and the show slowly starts to challenge you more and more and more and makes you start to, hate that character by the end, I think that could have been a good route for Dexter. Batista and Quinn should have switched places for New Blood and Resurrection. Actually, I like that idea. Having Quinn be the one who kind of somewhat gets flirty with Angela and New Blood fits Quinn's character a little bit more. The fact that he's from New York would give a little bit more of an explanation of why he's just randomly in New York. Was it even in New York when they had that conference? But nonetheless, the meeting where Batista and Angela get together, that's such a fucking weirdly written shoehorn scene that makes no sense. It's so lazy. Having Quinn could have made it better. And then that would have set up Quinn being the one that gets taken out in Resurrection, which ultimately would set up Batista being the one who's going to now fully be on his tracks for Resurrection going forward. Yeah. I mean, selfishly, because I want Batista to be the one who takes him down, I think that would have worked better. I agree. Dexter's ending in New Blood is as good as Walter White's. And the only bad part about that ending is what it meant for Harrison's character. No. 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 I think that the ending of New Blood sucks. And I think Walter White's ending is one of the best endings in TV history for a character. I don't think they're comparable at all. It's not just they both die. No. Walter White's ending, that entire final season, that entire final episode is earned. Heavily earned. Dexter New Blood, that last 15 minutes of that episode feels like it comes out of fucking nowhere. It's like they just rush at the very end. No. That's in running for hottest take that I agree with the least. J-Dev, I bet you $1 million is about Hannah McKay. Hannah McKay being killed off screen is one of the dumbest things the show has done. Yeah, so for those that don't know, my buddy J-Dev over here is like Hannah McKay's biggest fan, and he quite literally says that in episode 2, them saying that Hannah McKay died of cancer ruined the entire season of New Blood. So, yeah, he's the biggest Hannah McKay fanboy out there. No, that's the farthest thing from the issues in New Blood for me. New Blood Harrison is extremely overhated. Now, there's a lot of people out there that do believe this. They feel like the nature of the Harrison character and what his dad did, abandoning him, and the way his life is gone, his mother being murdered, it totally justifies him behaving the way that he behaves in New Blood. And there's a certain amount of that logic that I can get behind, but they write him to be so fucking insufferable. So insufferable. He's selfish. He's an asshole. Like, again, I don't care if he has reasons to be angsty and has reasons to have a weird relationship with his dad. It's written to be the most insufferable, grating version of that. You know, he's fucking setting up this poor bullied kid to be a school shooter for his own sick, twisted pleasure and stuff. It's like, he's horrible in that season. I fucking hated Harrison by the end of that show. He had the one moment where he saves him from Kurt, and then Dexter finally tells him about his code and his darkness, and it's like, oh, finally, we're going to start to understand, we're going to get them to understand each other more, and now I can start to like the Harrison character. And then the next episode, he kills his dad. It's like, well, fuck this kid. That shows you how strong of a change it was in Resurrection, that I actually really like his character, because I hated him in New Blood. Dexter is not good. Again, I think that's probably a troll comment, but if you believe that, you also need Jesus. New Blood is the second best season of Dexter. I thought Dex's storyline was great. I actually really liked Harrison, loved Kurt as a villain. I dug the snowy town aesthetic, and I personally loved the finale and Dex's conclusion. Okay. I don't. I don't. So, yeah, I mean, even if you like New Blood, I think saying it's the second best season's pretty crazy. That's pretty insane to me. So that's a flaming hot take. New Blood's finale was excellent and showed a meaning to Dexter's character. His coldness after he relentlessly killed Logan for his benefit, but he didn't. He, accidentally did it. And the incapacity of mixing morality with a dark passenger. Yeah, I don't agree. I think it was sloppy as fuck. Whatever they were going for, if it was that, they did not do it well. Final one for New Blood. New Blood drew me in more than Resurrection. The complete tonal shift in cinematography hooked me because it fit the vibe of Iron Lake. Still love how both started. Okay. I guess I can appreciate maybe saying that I just loved how different New Blood was, and Resurrection feeling more like classic Dexter wasn't as appealing to me. I could understand that perspective. I don't agree with it, but I can understand that perspective. All right, now we got a couple for Original Sin, not many. Season 3 is still the second best behind Season 4. Also, Original Sin was better than the previous 5 seasons, Season 5 through New Blood, but I get why they won't do a second part. And finally, Season 6 is the worst of the entire show. Well, that's not a hot take at the end there. A number of people think that. Season 3 is still the second best behind Season 4. That's a pretty hot take. I can't agree with that. Original Sin was better than the previous 5 seasons. I definitely don't agree with that. It's better than New Blood. It's better than Season 6. I could see why somebody would say it's better than Season 7. But I would never could understand the argument of season 5. I think a lot of people just love the nostalgia of Original Sin, and it kind of clouded them to a lot of the issues that show did have. Well, I did like it, though. You know, I am a fan. Patrick Gibson Dexter is scarier than Michael C. Hall Dexter. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I would have to see like a side-by-side scene thing to see what you're talking about there. I think Patrick Gibson did a really good job. I do. But a lot of his performance was relying on doing the Michael C. Hall thing. So I don't even know if you could really credit him of being better or different than Michael C. Hall, because he's mostly doing an impression with bringing a few of his own elements to it. Michael C. Hall, though, when you get those moments where he has to go dark, he's flawless at it. So I don't think I would agree with that. Again, maybe you could show me a scene where I'm like, he's pretty creepy there, but from my memory, I don't think I would agree with that. I liked Original Sin way more than the OG show. Wow. Who'd have thought Original Sin was going to give us our biggest hot take? I like the nostalgia. Remember all that cool stuff from the original show more than the original show. No. I mean, like when you say the OG show, are you talking just about the first 4 seasons? Are you talking about the original run from 1 to 8? I guess if you're trying to average out, if you really hated everything after season 4, maybe there's a version of that I can at least understand where you're coming from. But no, I do not like Original Sin anywhere near as much as the original Dexter, no matter what definition of original Dexter you're going with. And the final one. Original Sin would have been better if they cast Michael C. Hall in a wig. Courtney's probably joking, but there is a version of that I think would have been hilarious. It's probably too late for them to do that and get away with it, but yeah, having him have that big shaggy wig and just doing that the whole time. All right, moving on to Resurrection. So we're on the final stretch here. Gemini should have gotten away in Resurrection and became the big bad in season 2. I don't know. Like, I really like the way that they handled Gemini. Could we have used more of him? Like, if it was a 12-episode season, yes, I would have liked more of him. Is there a version of swapping him with the Rapunzel character where, you know, Dexter kills Gemini seemingly, and then we find out he's a twin, and the twin is now out there, and we're like, ooh, when's that going to come back to haunt Dexter? There's a version of that I could get behind. Becoming the big bad in season 2, I don't know about that. I don't know if there was enough with that character that what we saw where I would want David Dismouchian to be the full villain. Like, I think he was cool as like an extended Freak of the Week character. Resurrection is mid at best, and it was carried by nostalgia. Episode 4 is the best example. Most of the killers were boring. Charlie was overacting, and Dexter had no character arc. Wow. I like Resurrection a lot. I have my issues with it, but I like it a lot. I do not think it's a mid season. I think it's a very good season. It was carried by nostalgia. I would not say that whatsoever. The fact that they're just trying to get back to the good elements of Dexter, I would not categorize that as nostalgic. A show that's carried by nostalgia is Original Sin. Resurrection is not spending all this time like, remember that thing in season 2? Remember that person in season 5? Remember that kill in season 4? It doesn't do that at all. You know, I just, no. I can't get behind that argument at all. Most of killers were boring. Don't agree with that either. Charlie was overacting. At times, yes. I think that there's moments where Uma Thurman was fantastic. I think there was moments where I didn't buy it. Dexter had no character arc. I wouldn't go as far as to say he had no character arc, but they definitely didn't give the full character arc that they could have. I think the character arc that they basically settled on for that one is Dexter fully like re-embracing who he used to be, you know, getting out of the mindset of New Blood and the 10 years in between season 8 and season New Blood, and being recalibrating to be a father and everything. Like, there is a arc there, but I think there was a lot of potential that was already baked into the cake there to have his character arc be even more in that season. Dexter deserves to ride off into the sunset by the end of Resurrection. I just don't understand that, man. I think people are just, they just want Dexter no matter what. I want season 45 of Dexter. I don't care if it sucks. I just want the thing that I like. And, you know, even if that's not the motivation here, Dexter deserves to ride off. Why does he deserve to ride off? That's the other thing where people are like, well, he's done more good than bad. Okay. He's still fucked up a lot of people's lives. He's killed a lot of innocent people. He's gotten a lot of people killed. Like, I don't think having that character ride off into the sunset is satisfying, responsible, merited, earned at all. To me, that would be a cop-out ending of like, oh, you didn't like it when we killed him. You didn't like it whenever we had him go into exile. Fine. He fucking goes off to Argentina with Harrison and whoever some new chick he's going to start fucking in season 2 is. No. Masuka is the New York Ripper. That would be a twist. Just have a guy like have a scene where somebody's like pursuing somebody in a dark New York alleyway, and you just see the shadow of the Hook. Cody and Aster should be the ones to take out Dexter. Interesting idea that I don't hate. They come back in season 2 or the final season of Resurrection. Dexter reveals he was the cause of Rita's death, and they seek to take him out. Maybe they hit up Quinn, and they all work together to take down Dex once and for all. I don't like the version that you've written there. I think there's way too much work to be done to make that even feel halfway earned. But the idea of Cody and Aster coming back, finding out the truth about Dexter, the truth about their mother's killing and everything, finding out that Harrison is, still alive. They haven't. What the fuck? Like, after season 8, what did they think happened to Harrison? That's the thing that's crazy that nobody ever asks about. Like, Dexter died, he faked his death, but nobody ever fucking asks about Harrison. What happened to Harrison? Even goddamn, unless I'm mistaken, I don't even think Batista brought it up. Whenever he was talking about, oh yeah, I had this friend Dexter, and he died years ago or whatever, and he had this cute kid Harrison. He never asked, like, what the fuck ever happened to that kid, by the way. So yeah, there's so much that needs to be paid off and brought back into the fold with Cody and Aster that if they don't, it's going to be fucking weird. Leon Prater did nothing wrong. Get the fuck out of here. I don't know if you're trolling or not, but get the fuck out of here. Did he not? He killed Batista. That's enough. But even before that, he did nothing wrong. He's facilitating and basically sponsoring serial killers. On that logic. My wife's the real fan. Always felt too torture porn-like for me. I think you need to reassess your definition of what torture porn is, because that Dexter's never been torture porn. But people who think the last episode of Resurrection was perfect are in denial of how bad that it was. Okay, buckle up. Dumb dance joke aside, I really liked the season as a whole until we stacked coincidences like pizza toppings right at the end. Suspension of disbelief went out the window when people, his damn secretary, didn't look for him immediately. He means Prater. Wrapped up in time that he did and got to the boat. Like, come on. With Charlie, you think your boss who knows where to find elusive serial killers doesn't have every bit of dirt on you? Whole ending felt too Disneyland ramble over. I didn't get hung up on the specific things that you did, but I do think there's a number of conveniences for sure. In not just the season as a whole, but even in the finale. There's plenty of contrivances throughout that entire season. So yeah, I didn't dislike the final episode. I just thought that it was kind of a mid episode, which I never say mid, but it kind of defines what people mean when they say mid. Mediocre feels almost a little bit too harsh, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, it was fine. It is what it is. We landed the plane. See you next year. Resurrection is nowhere near as good as people are saying it is. Aside from people acting really dumb in this season, Dexter acted completely out of character during several parts. One example being the whole relationship he had between Lady Vengeance I found to be extremely stupid since he has gone down this road before. The power of the pussy, man. Totally logical. Of hoping that he could find someone just like him, but always doesn't work out one way or another. So him doing this shit again was him being a complete dumbass. Well, to stop there before I continue on, he didn't, though. He didn't fuck her. He didn't do anything like to actually have a relationship with her. He was curious, and then he turned her in immediately. As soon as he realized, oh yeah, this bitch is crazy. Because she seemingly had the same kind of origin as him. It's like, oh, I just take out people that deserve it. And he's like, oh, fuck, hey, me too. And as soon as it was, that she did that for a while and then just starts killing any motherfucker she wants to, then he turned her ass in immediately. Didn't even need to put her on the table. New police characters were incredibly fucking annoying. Yeah, I didn't care for them either. Harrison's relationship was extremely all over the place with the first girl he was crushing over, having absolutely no payoff in the later parts of the season and completely disappearing. I agree with that. One final example I have, just so I don't make this comment too long, is I really didn't like the cameos in the first episode since they just felt like they were being handpicked as the fan favorite ones instead of actually feeling integral to the plot. I mean, I thought that they were fine. I like that. I like that element because he was dreaming, he was delirious, and so he's definitely seeing people that would be most prominent to him. I was fine with that part of it. Season's like a 6 or 7 out of 10 for me. I mean, that's fine. I don't think that's 6 out of 10 is a little rough, but yeah. Not too hot. Not too hot. Satisfying ending for Dexter is nearly impossible at this point. Actually, you know what? I kind of agree. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope they do find a way to end it this time where it's like, okay, thank God. It might not be the best ending that you could have had, but it's like, okay, at least I'm satisfied. But I'm with you. I think they've burned through the potential of all their best endings with characters that they've killed off, with the versions of Exile and Dexter being killed by Harrison that they executed in the worst way, and now we don't need to do that again, and we're probably not going to do that again. Like, I think that you're onto something there. With the death of Batista, it is impossible for Dexter to have a satisfying ending. I don't know if I would say impossible, but for me, I've said it over and over and over again. That was the best card they had to play that was left in the deck, and they fucking threw that card in the fire. Batista being as close to Dexter in the original show, it's a history revision. Okay, let me read the whole thing before I react. Batista being as close to Dexter in the original show is a history revision. I've watched and I'm currently rewatching the whole show. Other than Batista not seeing him as evil, I don't know what people are talking about saying they were close. A bowling team Dexter was a part of as a cover for being normal doesn't count. And Dexter, if you watch the show, acts fairly kind to most of the people he works with. So any kindness to Batista could be easily explained away as cover. Making Batista the thing that brings Dexter down is what felt forced, not his death. Huge fan of you, Cody Leach. Well, I appreciate that. I gotta disagree. Now, look, whenever I say that Batista and Dexter were close, like, obviously they're not close to the degree of, like, Walter White and Hank. But you watch those first couple of seasons, and there's literally a number of points where Batista is the only member of Miami Metro that Dexter has, like, this extended out-of-work relationship with. And there's a point in either season 1 or 2 where he tells him something along the lines of, like, if there's somebody that I wanted to strive to be like, it would be you. Dexter feels something for Batista that is more than what he feels for Masuka and Quinn, and certainly Dokes and LaGuerta. There's something there that is exclusive to Batista. Even more so, though, is on Batista's end. Batista looks at Dexter as like one of his best friends, if not his best friend. Whether Dexter completely reciprocates that or not, we can certainly debate, and I would agree probably that he doesn't. But Batista looks at Dexter like a brother. Batista's the one that constantly goes to Dexter and trusts Dexter with things that is almost comedic. Like whenever he tells him that he's having a relationship with LaGuerta, he's the only person he tells. And it's funny that Dexter's the only person that he tells, because it's comedic that Dexter, this guy that is faking so much, is the one that people trust. He's the one who's the witness to their wedding. You know, he's so close with Deb that's also a whole element in there. So I don't think it's revisionist history. I just think that the way that you have to put it in the right context. Of all of the people in the original Miami Metro run, outside of Deb, who clearly has been taken off the table, Batista is the only one that has serious, like, stakes, emotional ramifications for being the one to discover definitively that he's the Bay Harbor Butcher and be the one pursuing him to the end. It would not be satisfying if it was Masuka. It would not be satisfying if it was Quinn. It was somewhat satisfying that it was LaGuerta, but none of us ever thought she was actually going to win. She was the one who was going to be what should have been the tipping point for him of actually having to murder somebody that didn't deserve it. Batista's the only one. So yeah, I just... To me, the revisionist history is acting like Batista never mattered. Like Batista was just a side character that he's the last one left to be killed. What other significance does he have? That to me is the true history revision. Masuka being the one to bring Dexter down could actually be satisfying. I forgot he was the one who discovered Dex uses M99, plus him being an unassuming guy no one would really expect to bring down the BHB, who's also a blood analyst. Well, he's a forensic analyst. He's not specifically the blood guy. That's who Dexter was. Is a neat parallel to Dexter being an unassuming blood analyst who is the Bay Harbor Butcher. There's a version of that I've actually discussed earlier on in Resurrection, whenever the New York Ripper stuff started to get kind of high, and then, or actually it was after Batista died. Actually, after Batista died, I started talking with a few of my friends about that. Like, it's not going to be cool if it's Quinn. And I started thinking, I'm like, like on the surface, this would be stupid, but like there would be something darkly comedic about Masuka ultimately being the one to take him down. There's a lot of work you got to do to make that work. But the version that you're talking about here, I think there's something there. I don't think that's the direction they're going to go, and I wish they'd go with something dramatic versus something that's kind of tongue-in-cheek like that. But there is a version of Masuka ultimately being the one to take him down that there is like a darkly comedic poetry to that. If written well, Quinn actually could have been a good face-off with Dexter. I liked Quinn in the original series, and there is enough history there, especially around Deb. I mean, if it's written well enough, yes, there's a version of it that could be satisfying. It's never going to be as satisfying as Batista being that one for me. It's just never going to work. But Quinn having the relationship with Deb, being somebody who's morally compromised himself and has proven that numerous times, being somebody who pursued Dexter and had suspicions of Dexter and came this fucking close to finding out the truth in season 5 and then gave it all up. And we've always wondered, like, is it ever going to come back into play that Quinn knew he got close to something and Liddy found something and Dexter basically got him off the hook for what would have been dead to rights for Liddy's murder, and then he just kind of dropped it? Is that ever going to come back into play? There's something there that can be paid off. I just don't think Quinn ultimately being the one to take down Dexter, there's no version of that would have been as satisfying as Batista for me. There's just not. And now the final hot take. Batista not overthinking Prater makes sense if you look at it from his perspective. As far as Batista knows, the BHB is directly responsible for the murder of Dokes and Maria. Batista knows those two are innocent, meaning he knows that sometimes the BHB does break the code and go for people who are innocent. It's not out of the question for him, therefore you can't rule out Prater as being one of those cases. Here's the problem with that logic. Number one, if we're going to just attack the thing about Batista thinks that the BHB essentially deviates from his code and he'll take out an innocent person if he has to. Well, the two examples he has of that are people who are hot on his trail and about to bring him down, Dokes and Maria. Obviously, Leon Prater's not going to be that. He's just a guy, like a popular fucking figurehead in New York. He's not like... It's not like it was Wallace. Like if he kept thinking, Dexter was with Wallace and he's like, fuck, she's the next one, that'd be a little different. But I can't completely buy into that premise because, yeah, it's not the same. Even so, him not overthinking Prater and not thinking even for a moment that why is Dexter hanging out with this guy? There's no version of that you're going to get me to buy into 100% aside from just the show needed him to be that dumb in that moment. They really did Batista dirty in those last couple of episodes with just dropping his intelligence to like an insulting level. Now, Batista has never been like the smartest detective. It's not like he's rivaled Dexter with how much shit that he's solving left and right. But he's never been an idiot. I mean, there's a version of every Miami Metro character that you can say, like, well, you're got to be a little dumb that you never realized that Dexter was the BHB. But, like, aside from that, Batista was never an idiot. So you really did have to make him dumb in that moment. But even after that, you just compound it. It's if that was the one thing they did, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But you have Batista having that whole adrenaline rush where he calls in the New York detectives when he has no evidence because he's excited. He's like, well, fuck, now I look stupid. And then he does it yet again whenever he goes in and ends up having to give him his badge. And then he walks right into the lion's den with Prater. And then after it's shown that these people are fucked up too, rather than try to preserve his own life or even try to do something that will absolutely definitively take Dexter out if he has to die for it. He just chokes him and forgets that somebody with a gun is standing in the fucking room who's clearly on Dexter's side. Like, it just, no. I really don't like the way that they took him out. Taking him out in general is an idea I would not have been in favor of, but there's ways you could have earned it and done it better that I could have been eased into it. I could have been more satisfied with it. The way that they did it just does not work for me. So, I don't know. We'll see where things go in the future. But that's it, guys. That is our Dexter hot takes. Which do you think was the hottest take of the video? That's a question I want in the comments section. What is the opinion here that sent you into the biggest rage? And what is another series or movie franchise or topic or whatever that you guys would like to do a hot takes video on? I think these are a lot of fun, and sometimes you guys get pretty rowdy with them. So give me that suggestion in the comment section below as well. And we will see you on either the next hot take video or hopefully sooner than later, the next Dexter video very soon. Well, that's it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed that, I'm going to put a link over here for all of my Dexter coverage. I'm also going to put a video up top here of a hot takes video that I did giving my biggest horror hot takes for you to check out. Like, share, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss everything in the future. And as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.